This is something new and different for Star Citizen. Where did it come from?
I'm not going to answer that.
It was in a Squadron 42 teaser video. I don't know why CIG's being so coy about this. It's okay to reuse assets and have fun with them, even if they're enemies in Squadron 42. The Shiv is a brand new ship from a brand new, smaller ship designer named Grays. And he's more of a import-exporter, kind of Art Vandelay style, if you get my drift. What this madness is basically a tuned-down Cutlass with less SCU of cargo space, but gains dramatic amount of speed and firepower. This is a first look. It's very raw. There is no combat footage, and I'll show you why later. But it is a heck of a ship, and I do recommend checking it out. And the crazy paint jobs for it. More on that in a minute. Thank you to my long-term subscribers for being here. Please consider subscribing if you have not already. It means a ton to me. So, one of the things I really like about this design is the double ramp accesses. I was kind of taken aback, but what I was about to compliment, as I got inside, I realized why maybe there's so many access points and such, because there's only one in and out egress. I immediately noticed that this is a kind of retrofitted Cutty black. That's the vibe I got. And one of the things I noticed that was a shame is the Rambler's little mini windows did not come over. So to the left and the right of the ramp is these little windows designed to peek out as you go through. One of the other things to note is the weird component housings and other types of boxes and weird noises, as well as some of the component housings that are still open. I have a few shots in here that are a little less than professional because I'm laughing so much and I'm shaking the mouse. And normally when I do these walkthroughs, I give myself notes to remind myself of what to cover and things. There wasn't much of that in this situation. So do bear with me on this very rough first look as I went out of my way to mention. There's a lot of Drake parts and components because it's a Cutlass layover. This just seems like wasted space there. More space to shove things if you had some box missions and such that were getting out of control. But one of the things that is notable is the whole side doors are gone off the Cutlass series. One of the most interesting things of the Cutlass series. And just in a moment, you're going to see some other things that are a little bit different than the traditional Cutlass. You see the two beds, of course, with a busted ladder and such. And I'm going to use air quotes on this, hygiene. So you open the door, and inside the turret housing, they put two buckets in. One on the floor, and then one as your sink to the left of that, wrapped around a pipe with a rope. And then you can see the toilet paper on top of, like, a system access box. And then the lights and the door entry locks and such are both mounted to the rails that normally would be part of the manned turret. There is a very powerful turret on board, by the way. That you would think that there's no turret. It's a remote turret in this situation. So arguably a more modernized design, despite the lack of modernization and the hygiene. One other thing to note is despite the rudimentary nature of this location, it does have working lights. In fact, there's one in the cockpit I'll show later that I really do like. And yeah, that's your hygiene. So on the wall here, they took weapon racks out of a Crusader ship and just kind of bolted them into the side of the wall. But they do have functioning slots. There is an engineering panel. Of course, it's not in yet, but it will be. And it goes without saying, there's only a couple fuse boxes that hiss at you when you get near them. And then 750k milli for your storage on board. 2 storage lockers. There is it's not a co-pilot seat, it's a gunner seat. And I go into that first because that really interested me. I was curious if there's a turret. A lot of times with these first looks, I like to just go through them like as if it's a new eyes. Try to read as little as possible. But one of the things I learned pretty quickly was the turret itself is actually pretty interesting. So they took the quad turret from a Hurricane and then kit bashed it with size 3 guns from the F7A Hornet M Mark II. And look at all that firepower. It's shocking. I mean, how much is going on with the laser repeaters. And there also is ballistic weapons on board. There's a pair of size 4 Gatling ballistics run by the pilot. And that remote turret, when the pilot is running it without the turret operational, those shoot forward. So the pilot has access to 4 size 3s, 2 size 4s, size 4s being ballistic, and then a whole rack of missiles. So you're dealing with a rack of 8 size 2s and 8 size 3 missiles. It's quite an armament on this, shoved into this very, very small fuselage. This is going to sound a little silly, but I went with the floral pattern just to be different. But in a weird way, this kind of ended up becoming War Thunder for me in a weird way, because in that game I do goofy paint jobs and stuff when I get interested in playing it again and again. And my F-104 Starfighters, when I'm playing the Western countries, tend to have goofy paint jobs like that, like giant floral patterns and other like Hawaiian style stuff. It's kind of funny. This thing reminds me a lot of an F-104 Starfighter. It's very fast in a straight line. It will red or black you out if you're not careful. And honestly, if you're okay with losing the cargo and the side doors, you'll note the little hacking thing. I'm going to turn off the engine on and off one more time to catch that again. Watch the middle MFD before I continue my talk. It's just the craziest thing. Multiple of the screens have little hacker text that's like, because this is like a hack together OS. It's like multiple different services all just shoved together. And he's trying to get main thrusters from the Valkyrie and Lancer main engines as well to work together. Again, very fast in a straight line. This thing ain't outmaneuvering much, but if you did have a co-pilot, so to speak, your gunner seat, as it calls it in here, they could work the turret and give yourself more versatility in that type of combat situation. Beautiful paint job. So this is the blue floral pattern, and I know that's a really weird thing to say, but I strongly suspect that the black paint or the concierge paint that's like green and black and stuff and tan highlights, I'm sure many will run with this or that, but to me this seems like the more exotic of the group and the one that truly fits the spirit of this ship, and I accidentally matches the idea that it's my F-104 Starfighter and Star Citizen now. This thing is fun. It's for its size, it's very small. It doesn't have the big fins on the front of the Cutlass series of ships. It almost feels like what I would like to see as a Cutlass improvement in a lot of ways. Again, as long as you're okay with the lack of cargo space. And I have to be, it's one of those things where I don't really care too much about that if I'm jumping in my Cutty. I care more about getting from point A to point B quickly, effectively, and times when I might have grabbed my instead of my Cutty, I might have grabbed something else. This might be something, to say the least, that I'll grab. It also kind of might replace my Cutter Rambler, because on the other end of the scale, the Cutter is very small, and the Rambler, despite having a much better bathroom, is not exactly the tipping odds factor for me. This thing can seat somebody else, can house them effectively if necessary, and it's not huge in any way. I like the fact that it has ramped access to its cargo too, just like the Cutter. and the Cutlass. But it's like the right perfect size for like one person that happens to once in a while have a friend or an org mate that jumps on. You can give your friend a ride on this and not feel weird about it and have a good time. You maybe even pick up a couple bounties on the way and have a good time. That brings me up to my next point. The Cutlass Blue has the ability to properly store bounties, at least when that will work. And this does not have anything like that. It doesn't have the services of a Red with a tier 3 medical bed pair. It does not have the Black's larger SCU space. But if anything, I would look very hard at this to replace your Cutty Black if you have one. Whereas the Red and the Blue, they're more geared towards what you're looking for. The only thing worth mentioning, though, is that none of these have the firepower of this thing. And the Red, the Red doesn't, it's kind of exempt from all that talk of firepower. But in general, I would say that this is a pretty serious option for a lot of players. It is too fast that will get you into trouble pretty quick. And it doesn't have enough maneuverability to get you out of it. It's very fast in a straight line. I honestly think its flight model might even be not tuned yet. Maybe they released 3 ships all at the same time into the PTU. This is being recorded in the latest PTU. So it's possible that CIG hasn't gotten around to tuning this thing yet, because it is really quick. And at the beginning of the video, I dropped that this was a Squadron 42 ship, because it was. This thing, let's not mince any words here, guys. You know if this ship's for you. It is a amazing little fun ship. I highly recommend considering it if you're in the something like a Cutty Black, and it has the real cargo value. I mean, in this day and age, we have larger and larger cargo missions, even on the smaller scale, than what you could fit into a cutter. I'm sticking with the Drake ships because I'm trying to keep it simple, but these, of course, can be parallelized over to the Intrepid and other ships that kind of fit that mold. It's kind of like an advanced starter, but it's not. It can be used by anybody very, very, very effectively because it has just enough extra space to let you do a lot more content with it. No, I'm testing out some things. I think the flight model's not complete because how you can spin on a 180. It's not maneuverable in some ways, but then you can just spin on a 180 on this to be fair, low gravity moon. But anyway, you can see the missiles that are arrayed in here. So they have the size 3s and the size 2s arrayed right next to each other in the same containers. Not many ships do it that way. You can see here the maneuverability is just insane, and it can get you into trouble so fast, but it's damn fun. Overall, if you're looking at this, you're on the edge and you're worried about this or that, don't be. You'll have a lot of fun. This is a crazy, kooky, fun ship. You don't have to go with a kooky paint. You can stick with the box standard stuff if you really wanted to. I didn't bother to war bond this. I simply bought the paint, and I did CCU war bond it, but I CCU'd it most importantly. So this didn't cost me very much at all. And that's the kind of the game, by the way, everybody. When I shoot these videos, I CCU, and it's like, I don't know, $40 or something out of pocket. I hope to recoup something off of it, and then I enjoy the ship, or I CCU it again. I don't buy every one of these out of pocket, full price. Just remember that. So, anyway, the Shiv in general is a heck of a ship. I have no qualms about the only Cutty I like to keep is my Cutty Red. And this ain't replacing that, but it is replacing other ships in my categories. Apparently right now, unfortunately, the CFP and the Headhunters missions are currently not working right. So Citizen for Prosperity and Headhunters missions that were combat related, like killing commanders and other crazy stuff, unfortunately were not available. And that's a tragedy because I would have really liked to put this ship through its paces. but I am going to cut it here and make it clear. It's not that I died in them or something. I logged out in an asteroid belt. Because that's just how this sometimes works with the PTU. Oh wait, let me show you the lights. I promised to show you that. So this is the first of the 2 games I tried, but you can see those little lights right there. And they're kind of annoying when I'm sitting out in this asteroid belt looking around for targets that are never going to come, but I don't know that yet. And that's a nice little touch. So having the ability to turn off those nuisance lights, get rid of them, or turn them back on if I, for some reason, wanted a map light in a spaceship 900 years in the future, is nice. I think little touches like that make this ship your own, and that's pretty damn cool. There's a lot of things that you can screw up, and to me, that's not one of them. I think they nailed something there. They nailed feels, and that's very valuable to me. They have something to be said with a lot of these parts and pieces is more and more customization. And I was chatting with JL on the one video I made that was the dev presentations from CitizenCon Direct that just happened today as I'm recording this. And I think it's kind of a good way to phrase it. I'm going to quote them directly. Ships like the Shiv could play such a huge role for players that could be denied access to purchase from normal manufacturers by reputation, or simply being unable to travel to lawful systems without being killed on site, arrested, etc. As a result, ships like the Shiv can offer easier access for these players and enhance the immersion factor at the same time. I'd love to see more of this stuff balanced in as they tackle the backlog. I think that's a great way to phrase it, and JL nailed it. Because to me, these assets, I think of them very practically. Where did they come from? They came from Squadron 42. They're designed to be fodder to fight against, with a lot of damage, but they're very squishy. Okay, well, I need to think of it more like how they phrased it. I need to think of it more of like, what's the actual immersion factor? What is the PU factor? And I hope CIG's doing that as well. Adding these extremely fast glass cannons that have some cargo capacity is very meta right now. But is it what we need for the players? And I agree that this should be a ship that is less seen except in like the farthest reaches of space, flying across Pyro or Nyx with less than reputable people desperate to get a good ship to be able to fight with, work with, get to clear their name or make their name worse. That would be pretty cool, especially, when you have crime stat 5 and if it sticks with you for a while, etc. Trying to land at Loreville ain't gonna go too well, right? Unless you're doing some dirty work for the Hurstons over in Pyro. So, and their pets. So, the thing is that I feel like that is so much content right there that players can make for themselves, make their identity, and the ships themselves are defined by the kind of gameplay loops they want to play and the parameters that they have to back themselves into to commit fully to that lifestyle. Like, so to speak, -10s in EVE Online or something like that. True pirates that had security status that was so low they couldn't even go into even the lowest levels of high sec, couldn't even go into 0.5 or whatever. And let's be honest, we all had alts that would literally grab stuff for us back if we did the piratey things. And then when you went to OO, you cleaned your record up and you didn't really matter anyway. But the point is that I think Star Citizen needs to start stratifying. I do agree with that position. And these type of ships like the Shiv, and hopefully more in the future, will be that. And these ships are not slowing down the backlog development. There's very little conversion being done to get them into the PU, as far as I'm aware. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I don't see the harm with porting over things, especially if they're already nearly 100%, to just go in. Same game engine. They're moving it over from Squadron to the PU. I'm sure there's some things that have to do or balancing that have to be done on those bespoke weapons. Otherwise, I don't see the problem. So that's kind of my position right now. I have the Stinger as well. I'm going to be doing a first look on that probably over the course of the weekend. Hope to have that up. I need to spend more time with it. As a reminder, if you're already looking at it and you wished you have more information to go on, just remember you do like prone into the Vanduul ships. It's not for everyone. Kind of feels like the ship's kind of encapsulating you, and it can feel a little claustrophobic in a weird way. The visibility is great at the same time as it feels claustrophobic due to the entrance and exit system of the ship. Multiple people report like that does impact like their favorability or dislike of the ship. Is the unique style of the cockpit. And because you're on a fighter, there's no like just walk away for a bit or something. There's no space inside. You know, you just kind of hop into this thing. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I don't think the Stinger is going to be any different on the Blade or the Glaive. In that regard, I'm not saying the firepower. The firepower is insane for how big the ship is. But yeah. All right. Back to the Shiv. Very exciting ship. I might even hang on to this for a little bit as something to really use to putt around in and have a good time. That tends to be the ships of this size and scale and cost tend to be the ones that I hang on to for a while because I use them as a daily driver for a long time. I think the ship is very neat. If you can get past the silliness of some of the things on board, you're going to have a good time. It's not for everybody, but if it's for you, you know it. Again, thank to my long subscribers, and most importantly, thank you all for being here. Take care.